The internet lost its mind over a competitor in the Augusta National Women's Amateur standing over her ball for 72 seconds before finally hitting the shot. Millions of impressions on Twitter gathered to flame her for standing over the shot for so long that some felt it was unbearable, she should be disqualified, or she should never play golf again. The context that was lost on Twitter, of all places, is that she had surgery on her arm for a nervous system issue just 5 months ago. Now, that one incident of her standing over the ball for what some would say is an excessive amount of time happens to you on a much smaller scale every single round, and there are thousands of shots of data to prove it. Now, Bailey Shoemaker is a phenomenal athlete and a great golfer. She was the runner-up last year. She shot 66 at Augusta National during that final round. She played in a US Women's Open at just 17. Her coach even said she was one of the fastest players he's ever worked with before her injury. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Cubital tunnel syndrome is what she had, which was a shooting pain in her hand and her arm when she got to the top of the backswing. She tried to play with it for about 7 months, then finally got surgery and slowly ramped back up, not even thinking she would be able to play in this event. She was quoted as saying, "I thought I was going to lose my hand. When you have nerve surgery, you aren't in control. It doesn't matter what my brain says. You think I want to do it intentionally." Huge shout out to Brentley Romine for breaking the news on this story. Unfortunately, what happens in these instances is people see this one outlier and they think that this is who the person is. When in reality, I played golf last night and the people I was behind were standing over the ball for forever. So this isn't just a high level golfer problem. This is an everybody problem. And it's also not personal. For some people, it's more difficult to finally pull the trigger on that shot than it is for others. I spent some time digging into the research behind how to make your pre-shot routine as efficient and effective as possible, and I've got 5 key findings for you. The RSM Player Performance Study analyzed over 22,000 shots from 47 players, and it found that a shorter pre-shot routine resulted in better strokes gained. Spending less time over the ball correlated to better performance. Specifically, they saw this on putting, where a shorter routine resulted in a 90% increase in the chance of gaining shots on that specific putt. Now, tour average is about 8 seconds from setup to when they hit the shot, which means that pre-shot routine all the way through the ball is about 17 to 23 seconds. It's also very well documented that Tiger was notorious for his pre-shot routine all the way through impact being basically within a second every single time. Which leads into the second point, which is consistency of timing is actually more important than just having a shorter time itself. Within that same study, the players who were more consistent were 50% more likely to make the cut than the players that were less consistent. For people like you and me who have a 9 to 5 job, this means that our pre-shot routine has to be so naturally ingrained that we just don't have to think about it, which typically means it's going to be less complicated and much simpler to do. So it's not about finding what the right time is, it's about finding what you can do most consistently. Number 3 is that your brain has 2 modes, and your routine is when you switch between them. Annika Sorenstam's coaches developed this think box versus play box framework. All analytical work happens behind the ball, but once you get over the ball, you turn into play mode or just trying to hit the shot. The trigger for the players that they worked with was a deep breath, so once you took this deep breath in and out, you transition from think mode into play mode. Or Bob Rotella puts it simply, think behind the ball, not over it. So that's how we quiet our mind, but the 4th point is that you need a quiet eye, and it is fixable and trainable. Now, what does a quiet eye mean? This is the final fixation of your eyes before you hit the shot. Elite golfers hold that same position for 2.5 to 3 seconds, whereas lower skilled golfers will only hold it for a second or a second and a half. Quiet eye training significantly improved putting performance within elite golfers in a controlled study. And just a heads up, all the studies that I'm referencing will be linked down below. This final point is the most difficult in my opinion, which is having only one swing thought. Research shows that you can have 1, maybe 2 swing thoughts before you start degrading your own performance. Beyond that, you go into paralysis by analysis mode, where your prefrontal cortex takes over and you're unable to fluidly complete a motion. And the studies that have been done on this show that it's actually more important under pressure than it is when there is less pressure. So for Bailey, her brain kept firing pain signals even though the nerve had healed. While you're probably not experiencing a trauma response from a nerve injury, you may be thinking back on shots that you've hit poorly or shots that you've hit well or nerves or pressure, where you may step onto a hole where you've continuously hit the ball to the left into the water and you step onto that hole and you're unable to pull the trigger just because you're so nervous to do that again. Your brain is demanding this certainty so you cannot swing fluidly. The solution is a compact, structured routine that you can do continuously so that your mind can go on autopilot and your body can just fire. If you don't have a pre-shot routine, we're going to get that dialed in right now. So grab a sticky note or your phone or whatever, and let's walk through this together. Behind the ball, we're assessing the shot, picking our club, picking our target, picking the shot shape, and committing fully. Once we've done that, behind the ball, we're going to take a deep breath and switch into play mode as we're walking into the shot. Once we're over the ball, we're aligning our club face to the target, looking up at the target, looking back at the ball, and then swinging. And throughout that whole process, we want one swing thought at maximum, and the time that it takes to do this should be incredibly consistent. So if you find yourself struggling with consistency in the timing, just adjust the parts that you maybe have the biggest variance with. If you get over the ball and feel any level of uncertainty, don't be afraid to back off, but you'll continue to gain certainty as you do this more often, and especially as you do it on the range. I would highly recommend doing this in every single shot on the range once you're physically warm. Now you might be thinking, well, I'm going to play slow if I've got this pre-shot routine. That's kind of a myth. Pace of play typically comes down to courses just jamming people too closely together. Your pre-shot routine that takes less than 40 seconds will not be the reason that you play in 5 hours. Bailey's story really isn't about slow play. It's what happens when the connection between your brain and your body is broken and your body no longer knows how to do what your brain is trying to do. And on a smaller scale, that's every single amateur golfer standing over a 4-footer for their new personal low score. A consistent pre-shot routine is the cheapest, most effective performance-enhancing tool for every single golfer. It's completely free, it takes 20 seconds before every single shot, and there are tons of studies to back up that it will help you. And if you've ever had one of those great range sessions and then completely fallen, if you've ever had one of those great range sessions like I have and then completely fell apart on the course, this video is for you.